Gagan Mohindra.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank my right honourable friend, the member for Kenilworth and Southall, for securing this important debate. I think this debate does tie in nicely with the one that we had earlier on about careers advice, improving the prospects of all our population to make sure they make the best use of their full potential. As my good friend, the member for Hartford and Stortford, has just said in terms of her statistics, disabled people are twice as likely to make journeys by taxi and private hire vehicles compared to non-disabled people. So it's really important that we ensure that disabled people do not experience discrimination when booking, using or paying for journeys. If anything, we should proactively, and I do think this bill does that, proactively ensure that there's no barriers to entry to ensure that those who are less able can't make the best and most of our society. As the House will know, my constituency of South West Hertfordshire is a lovely rural constituency, and therefore we are reliant on things like private hire vehicles or personal transport. So while we have some great transport links north to south via both train and tube, our connectivity via buses, and this is one of my local campaign items, does need improving. And I look forward to working with the Minister, and I welcome her to her place, and ensuring that South West Hertfordshire levels up like the rest of the country to ensure that people can do the right thing by not necessarily jumping in their private vehicle, but actually helping to improve their environment by using public transport where appropriate. On this point, can I just commend the excellent work of my own local cab company, John's Taxis, one that I use on a frequent basis to commute into the Chamber. I know from first-hand experience how customer focused they are in ensuring that all of their consumers do use and are able to use their vehicles to ensure that they can get around. Reference was made earlier to the importance of this particular sector during the global pandemic. While most people had to isolate, that small ability to get out and about when needed was quite critical in those instances, and it's definitely worth applauding those efforts. Honourable and right honourable members will be aware that there's already legal rights in place for wheelchair users and assistance dog owners, preventing drivers from denying them lifts. However, my right honourable friend's bill is drawing that correct attention to those, to making sure that the same rights do not extend to people with walking frames or with sensory, communication or cognitive impairments. Instead, those particular people have often faced being overcharged for their journeys, being denied vital assistance, or actually being denied carriage altogether. I am aware that my government is looking to create an inclusive transport network by 2030, and I think this particular bill works hand in glove in ensuring that. But I would also just want to, finally, if I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to make sure that we permit all drivers to accept passengers with disabilities. We refrain from charging them extra and providing them with appropriate assistance. By doing this, we create a fairer society, one that enables everyone, regardless of their ability. Of course I will.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. I'm very grateful for you giving way. I'm listening to you talk about, and my congratulations to the Honourable Member for Kenilworth for the bill. I'm hugely supportive. But talking about society, you know, and playing together in a fairer society, and it struck me that some of the taxi firms in my constituency in South Ribble really are only still here thanks to the government's support during the pandemic. And that, you know, we've valued them and invested them to make sure that they come out the other side of a global health crisis. And that this bill also sits them in that same bucket, you know, us all working together to look after the most vulnerable in society. I don't know whether you'd agree with that.
I would absolutely agree with what my honourable friend has just said there. You know, I think this House has rightly applauded those that have stepped up to the plate in the last 2 years during this global pandemic, and this particular sector, I would suggest the majority of those have done so. Their ability to adapt their vehicles to ensure that actually consumers had the confidence to use them as methods of transport was really important. As I said, I know from my own experience of my local taxi company that how busy they are. The fact that they know most of their customers on first name terms shows that they, in their own small way, are part of the community that they are helping to to with their ability to transport people around.
Would my honourable friend,
of course I will.
Thank you to my honourable friend for giving way. And I just wanted to go back to one of his comments earlier on, which relates to the importance of taxi and private hire vehicles within rural areas, given the rurality of his own constituency. This is perhaps a point that hasn't been drawn out enough in the discussion. Could you say a bit more about how this bill and also the importance of taxis and private hire vehicles is within the rural areas of your constituency?
Absolutely. It's more than, I'm always happy to share the joys of my constituency to the House, and I thank the honourable member for giving me the ability to do so. My constituency is approximately 80% greenbelt. I've got some very large and beautiful villages, stroke small towns, and those that live in those urban conurbations have some wonderful shops and restaurants and local amenity spaces to go to. But for those that live a bit further out or have difficulty moving, whether that's walking unaided or the requirement for transport in terms of buses or public hire vehicles, it does mean that actually I don't represent necessarily a flat constituency. So while myself personally, I live fairly high up on a small hill, so on the way down to the restaurants it's nice and easy, or to the high street. On the way back I do struggle, even someone of my youthful age. My odd knee does start creaking occasionally, so I've not yet used the ability to call my local taxi company to get me home, not necessarily required as yet, but I can foresee that sometime in the future that I will need to do so. So I'm not blessed locally with an exhaustive public transport network like you would expect in London, where regular buses, both at peak time and not off peak times. I'm not able to get a bus to my local train station in the evenings, or back from the station to home. I am in the mornings, and it's something that I think we do need to think about as a society, that where it may not be commercially viable for bus companies to offer those at the peak times or out of their peak times, but actually the community will actually adapt and use them. This is a conversation that I know that the Department of Transport and the Minister, I'm sure, will engage with, to make sure that actually we are incentivising people to do the right thing. I know from my personal experience of being in this place that this government is very much motivated about creating the framework so that actually doing the right thing does give you its own rewards, rather than actually being a barrier from the rhetoric to the legislation. Going back to the actual bill in front of us, I applaud my right honourable friend for the common sense approach he has adopted. This place benefits from evolution of laws, and I know that from this particular bill will be an addition to what's already on the statute books, and I'm sure in times in the future we will look to revisit this particular topic to ensure that actually all of those in society are able to do exactly what each and every other person, able-bodied or not. And I look forward to further discussions in this debate. Thank you, Madam Deputy.
Yeah.